Am I overreacting for getting upset when my husband's coworker called our baby her little one and posted photos online before I even shared them with family? I'm 29F and my husband Drew is 31M. We just had our first baby, a daughter named Maisie, 3 weeks ago. Before I get into what happened, I need to give some context about Drew's coworker Vanessa. Drew works in marketing at a mid-sized tech company. He's been there for about 5 years and Vanessa started about 2 years ago. From what Drew's told me, she's good at her job but has always been a bit overly friendly with him. I never thought much of it because Drew's a naturally friendly person and he always mentioned her in the context of work stuff, team lunches, project meetings, normal coworker things. I met Vanessa once at Drew's company holiday party last year. She was nice enough but there was something about the way she talked to Drew that felt a little too familiar. Like she'd touch his arm when she laughed or stand really close to him when they were talking. Drew said I was reading into it and that she was just like that with everyone. I let it go. When I got pregnant, Drew mentioned it to his team because he was going to need paternity leave. Apparently Vanessa got really excited about it. She started asking Drew a lot of questions about the pregnancy, what we were having, if we'd picked names, if we had a registry. Drew thought she was just being nice and interested. Around my 7th month, Vanessa asked Drew for our registry link because she wanted to get us something. Drew gave it to her without asking me first, which annoyed me, but I figured it was harmless. She ended up buying us this really expensive baby monitor, like $300. I thought it was way too much for a coworker to spend but Drew said she was just being generous and I should be grateful. We kept it since we'd already opened the box, but every time I looked at it I felt weird about how much she'd spent. I sent her a thank you text and she responded with, "Of course. I can't wait to meet the little one," which felt a bit presumptuous but I didn't say anything. When I went into labor 3 weeks ago, Drew texted his boss to let him know he'd be out. Apparently Vanessa saw the message in their team chat and responded with a bunch of heart emojis and OMG keep us updated. Drew was focused on me and the labor so he didn't respond. After Maisie was born, Drew took a few photos on his phone, just simple ones of her in the hospital bassinet and one of me holding her. I looked awful. I'd just been through 16 hours of labor, no makeup, hair a mess, exhausted, but Drew wanted to remember the moment so I said it was fine as long as he didn't post them anywhere. We decided we weren't going to share any photos on social media right away. We wanted to tell our families first and then maybe post something after a week or so. My mom doesn't even have Facebook and she was on a cruise with limited cell service, so I was waiting to call her when she docked. Drew's parents live across the country, so we were planning to send them photos privately and then do a small announcement later. The day after Maisie was born, Drew's phone was going off constantly with work messages. People congratulating him, asking how we were doing, normal stuff. Drew was exhausted and wasn't really responding to anyone except his boss. That evening, while I was trying to breastfeed and Drew was napping, my phone started blowing up. My best friend sent me a screenshot with, did you see this? It was a Facebook post from Vanessa. She'd posted a photo of Maisie, one of the ones Drew had taken in the hospital. The photo was of Maisie in the bassinet wrapped in the hospital blanket. The caption said, "My heart is so full. Finally got to see a photo of this precious little one. She's absolutely perfect. Can't wait to meet her. So blessed to be part of this journey. #newlife, #babygirl, #so in love." I read it 3 times trying to make sense of it. She'd posted a photo of my daughter, a photo I hadn't even sent to my own mother yet, and she was talking like Maisie was hers. My heart is so full. Can't wait to meet her. So blessed to be part of this journey. I woke Drew up immediately. I showed him the post and asked him if he'd sent the photo to Vanessa. He looked confused and said no. Then he checked his phone and realized he'd posted the photo in the workgroup chat to show his team. He said he thought it would just be the team and he didn't think anyone would share it. I was so angry I couldn't even speak at first. I asked him why he would post our daughter's photo in a work chat when we'd agreed not to share anything on social media yet. He said he didn't think the work chat counted as social media. It was just his coworkers. I said clearly it did count because now Vanessa had taken the photo and posted it publicly before we'd even told half our family. Drew said he'd ask her to take it down. He texted her something like, "Hey, can you please take down that post? We're not sharing photos publicly yet." Vanessa responded with, "Oh sorry. I just got so excited. She's so beautiful. I'll take it down now." But she didn't take it down for another 4 hours. By that point, the post had 87 likes and 23 comments from people I didn't know. People were commenting things like, "Congratulations," and "She's gorgeous," like Vanessa was the mother. One person even commented, "You must be so proud. She looks just like you," which made me want to scream. When she finally took it down, she sent Drew another message saying, "Sorry again, I was just so happy for you guys. I didn't mean to overstep. No apology to me, just to Drew." I was livid. I felt like she'd stolen this moment from me. My own mother didn't even know we'd had the baby yet, and now random people on the internet had seen my daughter before my family had. I finally got through to my mom when she docked 2 days later. She was furious that Vanessa had posted before I could even tell her. She said it made her feel like she didn't matter, which broke my heart. Drew's parents had also seen the post before we'd called them because one of Drew's cousins had seen it and shared it in their family group chat. His mom was hurt that we hadn't told her first, even though we'd been planning to. Drew kept apologizing and saying he didn't think it would be a big deal. He said Vanessa just got caught up in the excitement and didn't mean any harm. I said the harm was already done. Our daughter's first photo was out there on the internet without our permission, posted by someone who had no right to share it, and our families felt like an afterthought. A few days later, we were home from the hospital and Drew went back to work after his first week of paternity leave ended. His company only gives 1 week paid, so he had to go back. I was home alone with Maisie trying to figure out breastfeeding and surviving on no sleep. Drew came home that first day back and said Vanessa had asked about us. She wanted to know when she could come visit and meet the baby. Drew said he'd told her we weren't having visitors yet because we were still adjusting. Vanessa apparently said, "Oh come on, I'm not just a visitor, I'm family at this point." I lost it when he told me that. I said, "She's not family, she's your coworker, and after what she did I don't want her anywhere near our daughter." Drew said I was being harsh and that Vanessa was just trying to be supportive. I said posting our baby's photo without permission isn't supportive, it's invasive. Drew dropped it, but a week later he came home and said Vanessa had gotten Maisie a gift, an outfit and a stuffed animal. He'd brought them home. I looked at the outfit and it had Auntie's girl written on it. I asked Drew if Vanessa had referred to herself as Maisie's aunt and he said, she was probably just joking. I said it wasn't funny and I didn't want Maisie wearing that. Drew said I was overreacting and that it was just a cute outfit. I put it in the donation bag. Yesterday, Drew mentioned that his team is planning a happy hour next month and Vanessa asked if I'd bring Maisie so everyone could meet her. Drew said he'd told her he'd ask me. I said absolutely not. I'm not bringing my 6-week-old baby to a bar so Drew's coworkers can pass her around, especially not Vanessa. Drew said I was being unfair and that his coworkers just want to celebrate with us. I said they can celebrate without my newborn. He said I was holding a grudge over a mistake and that Vanessa had already apologized. I said she apologized to him, not to me, and she still hasn't acknowledged that what she did was a massive boundary violation. Drew said maybe I should talk to her directly if I'm this upset. I said I shouldn't have to tell a grown woman not to post photos of someone else's baby on the internet. We've been fighting about this for 2 days now. Drew thinks I'm being unreasonable and holding on to anger over something that wasn't that big of a deal. I think he's completely missing the point and not taking my feelings seriously. My mom said Vanessa sounds unhinged and I should keep my distance. Drew's mom said I'm being too sensitive and that Vanessa was just excited. My sister said the Auntie's girl outfit would have made her lose her mind too. So, am I overreacting? Is this something I should just let go? Or is my anger justified? Update, 8 weeks later. I wasn't planning to update but things have gotten so much worse. After my original post, I decided to set a hard boundary. I told Drew that Vanessa was not allowed to meet Maisie and that I didn't want him sharing any more photos or information about our daughter with her. Drew agreed but I could tell he thought I was being extreme. For a few weeks, things were quiet. Drew went back to work full-time after his paternity leave ended and I was home with Maisie. He didn't mention Vanessa much and I assumed the boundary was being respected. The happy hour ended up getting cancelled because half the team couldn't make it, so that never became an issue. Then about 3 weeks ago, Drew came home and casually mentioned that Vanessa had asked if she could send Maisie a Christmas gift. It was early November. Christmas was still months away. I said no. Drew said it seemed rude to tell someone they can't send a gift. I said after the Auntie's girl outfit, I didn't trust her judgment. Drew let it go, or so I thought. Last week, I was going through the mail and found a package addressed to Maisie. The return address had Vanessa's name on it. I opened it. Inside was a silver engraved baby bracelet with Maisie's name on it, a photo frame that said loved beyond measure, and a card. The card said, "Dear Maisie, I know we haven't met yet, but I already love you so much. Your daddy talks about you every day and I feel so lucky to be part of your life. I can't wait until your mommy feels comfortable with me visiting. Until then, know that Auntie V is always thinking of you. Love always, Vanessa." I felt sick reading it. Auntie V, part of your life. Your mommy feels comfortable, like I was the problem, like she had some kind of relationship with my daughter. I took photos of everything and then I called Drew at work. I was shaking. I told him Vanessa had sent a package and he needed to come home. He said he couldn't leave work. I said then we'd talk when he got home but this was serious. When Drew got home, I showed him everything, the bracelet, the frame, the card. I asked him if he'd told Vanessa she could send a gift after I'd specifically said no. He said he didn't tell her she could, but he also didn't tell her she couldn't. He said he didn't think it was his place to police what people sent our daughter. I said it absolutely was his place when the person sending gifts was crossing major boundaries. I asked him why Vanessa felt comfortable calling herself Auntie V, and he said he didn't know. He'd never called her that. I asked if he'd been talking about Maisie at work, and he admitted he had been. He said it was normal to talk about your kid at work. I said it's not normal for a coworker to be this invested in your child. I asked him point blank if there was something going on between him and Vanessa. He got really defensive and said no, absolutely not. He'd never cheat on me. I said I wasn't accusing him of cheating, but that her behavior wasn't normal and his inability to see that was making me question what he'd been telling her. Drew said I was being paranoid and that Vanessa was just an overly enthusiastic person. I said overly enthusiastic people don't refer to themselves as someone else's baby's aunt. I told Drew he needed to tell Vanessa to stop. No more gifts. No more messages about Maisie. No more asking to visit. Drew said that felt harsh. I said I didn't care how it felt. It needed to happen. Drew texted Vanessa that night. He showed me the message before he sent it. It said, "Hey Vanessa, thanks for the gift for Maisie, but we're trying to keep things simple and not overwhelm her with too much stuff. We'd appreciate it if you didn't send anything else. Hope you understand." It was weaker than I wanted, but I figured it was something. Vanessa responded almost immediately, "Oh no, did I upset your wife? I'm so sorry. I just care about you guys so much and I got carried away. I totally understand. I'll back off. Just know I'm always here if you need anything." The way she said your wife instead of my name made my skin crawl, and I'll back off implied she'd been doing something she needed to back off from, which she clearly had been. I thought that was the end of it. 2 days ago, I was at Target with Maisie. I had her in the stroller and I was grabbing diapers. I turned down an aisle and there was Vanessa. She saw me before I saw her and her face lit up. She said, "Oh my God, is this Maisie?" and started walking toward the stroller. I stepped in front of it and said, "Hi Vanessa." She didn't even acknowledge me blocking her. She just leaned around me and looked at Maisie and said, "Oh, she's even more beautiful in person. Drew's photos don't do her justice." I went cold. I said, "Drew's been sending you photos?" She said, "Oh, just a couple here and there. I always ask how she's doing." Vanessa reached toward the stroller like she was going to touch Maisie and I said, "Please don't." She pulled her hand back and looked hurt. She said, "I'm sorry. I've been waiting so long to meet her." I said, "I don't think that's appropriate. You're Drew's coworker." She laughed like I'd made a joke and said, "I'm a little more than that. Drew and I are really close. I mean, I've been there for him through a lot." I didn't know what to say. I just said, "I need to go." And I left. She called after me, "Tell Drew I said hi." I sat in my car in the parking lot and cried. Then I called Drew. He was in a meeting but I told him it was an emergency. He called me back 10 minutes later. I told him what happened, that I'd run into Vanessa at Target, that she'd tried to touch Maisie, that she'd said he'd been sending her photos. Drew went quiet. I said, "Have you been sending her photos?" He said, "Just a couple. She asks about Maisie and I didn't think it was a big deal to send a picture." I said, "I explicitly told you not to share photos with her." He said, "You said not to share them in the work chat. I've been sending them privately." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. He'd been knowingly going behind my back. I said, "Why would you do that after everything that's happened?" He said, "Because you're being unreasonable and I'm not going to be rude to someone who's been nothing but nice to us." I said, "She posted our daughter's photo without permission. She calls herself Auntie V. She tried to touch our baby without asking. How is any of that nice?" Drew said, "Those are mistakes. She's apologized. You're holding on to this grudge and it's affecting my work relationships." I said, "I don't care about your work relationships. I care about our daughter's safety and privacy." Drew said, "You're making this into something it's not. Vanessa isn't dangerous. She's just friendly." We fought for over an hour. Drew insisted I was overreacting and that I was making him choose between his wife and his coworker. I said he'd already chosen and it wasn't me. Drew came home that night and we barely spoke. Yesterday morning, I told him I was going to stay at my mom's for a few days because I needed space to think. He said I was being dramatic. I've been at my mom's since yesterday. Drew has texted a few times asking when I'm coming home. I haven't responded. My mom thinks I should insist on marriage counseling. My sister thinks Drew is having an emotional affair with Vanessa even if it's not physical. My best friend thinks I should check Drew's phone. I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm going crazy. Is Vanessa really just an overly friendly coworker? Or is something else going on? And even if nothing's going on, does it matter when Drew clearly doesn't respect my boundaries? Final update, 6 weeks later. This is my final update because everything has been resolved, though not in the way I expected. After I went to my mom's, I stayed there for 5 days. Drew kept texting asking when I was coming home and saying we needed to talk. I told him I'd come home when he was ready to have a serious conversation about boundaries. On day 3, Drew showed up at my mom's house. He said we needed to talk in person. My mom took Maisie into the other room and Drew and I sat down. He said he'd been thinking about everything and he wanted to show me something. He pulled out his phone and opened his message thread with Vanessa. He scrolled back several months and showed me. The messages were exactly what he'd said, work stuff, her asking about Maisie, him sending occasional photos, but then he scrolled to more recent messages, ones from the past few weeks. Vanessa had been texting him constantly, multiple times a day, messages like, thinking about you today, and hope you're doing okay with everything at home, and I'm always here if you need to talk. Drew said he hadn't been responding to most of them. Then he showed me a message from the day before. Vanessa had texted, I saw your wife at Target. I tried to say hi to Maisie but she wouldn't let me near her. I know she doesn't like me but it really hurt. I just want to be part of your daughter's life. Is there any way we can talk about this? Maybe without her knowing? Drew said when he got that message, he finally understood. He said he realized Vanessa wasn't just being friendly, she was trying to insert herself into our family in a way that wasn't appropriate. He said he'd been defensive because he didn't want to believe one of his coworkers would do that, but seeing it written out made it undeniable. He showed me his response. Vanessa, I think there's been a misunderstanding. You're a coworker and I appreciate your support, but my wife is right that you've been overstepping. I won't be sharing photos or updates about Maisie anymore, and I need you to respect that this is a boundary. I hope we can continue to work together professionally. Vanessa had responded, Are you serious? After everything we've been through? After all the times I've been there for you? I thought we were closer than this. This is really hurtful, Drew. Drew said he didn't respond to that. He said he'd also talked to his manager that morning and let her know that Vanessa had been making him uncomfortable with her comments about his family. His manager said she'd handle it. I asked Drew why he'd been so defensive of Vanessa for so long. He said honestly, he'd liked the attention at first, not in a romantic way, but Vanessa made him feel appreciated at work. She'd compliment his ideas in meetings, ask his opinion on things, make him feel valued. He said after Maisie was born and I was exhausted and focused on the baby, he felt a little invisible at home. Vanessa's attention felt nice. He said he knew that sounded terrible but he wanted to be honest. He said he'd never had any romantic feelings for her and never would, but he hadn't shut down her behavior because part of him liked feeling important to someone. I appreciated his honesty even though it hurt to hear. I told him that his feelings were understandable but that he'd prioritize them over my comfort and our daughter's privacy. He agreed and said he was sorry. I asked him what happened next with Vanessa. He said his manager had called her in for a meeting that afternoon. Drew wasn't in the meeting but his manager told him afterward that Vanessa had been told her behavior toward Drew and his family was inappropriate and needed to stop immediately. She was warned that any further inappropriate contact with Drew's family would be grounds for disciplinary action. Vanessa apparently cried and said she didn't mean anything by it. The next day at work, Vanessa avoided Drew completely, didn't say hi, didn't make eye contact, nothing. Drew said it was uncomfortable but also a relief. A few of his coworkers had noticed the weird dynamic over the past few months and one of them pulled Drew aside after the manager meeting to say they were glad he'd finally addressed it. 2 days later, Vanessa sent Drew one final text. I'm sorry if I made you or your wife uncomfortable. That was never my intention. I genuinely care about you as a friend and I got too invested. I'll keep my distance from now on. I hope there's no hard feelings. Drew showed me the message and asked if he should respond. I said no. That was 4 weeks ago. Since then, Vanessa has completely backed off. No messages, no gifts, nothing. Drew said she's polite at work but keeps all interactions strictly professional. She never tried to send a Christmas gift. She backed off completely after the manager got involved. Last week, Drew heard through the office grapevine that Vanessa had started dating someone. One of his coworkers mentioned it in passing. Drew said he was relieved because maybe now she'd shift her focus elsewhere. As for Drew and me, we started marriage counseling 2 weeks ago. Our counselor has been helping us work through what happened. Drew's admitted that he didn't take my concerns seriously because he was getting something out of Vanessa's attention, even if it wasn't romantic. The counselor called it an emotional gray area where Drew wasn't cheating but was allowing someone else to meet emotional needs that should have been addressed in our marriage. We've been working on communication and making sure we're both feeling valued. Drew's been way more present at home. He took on more nighttime baby duties so I could sleep. He's been checking in about how I'm feeling. He's also been completely transparent about his interactions at work. I asked Drew if he'd be willing to look for a new job eventually, not immediately, but at some point. He said he'd been thinking about it anyway because the whole situation made work awkward. He started casually looking but hasn't applied anywhere yet. I also made Drew go through his phone with me. I know some people think that's toxic but I needed to see for myself that there wasn't more. There wasn't. The messages with Vanessa were exactly what he'd shown me. Nothing physical, nothing romantic, just her being overly attached and him not shutting it down. We talked about what would happen if Vanessa started up again. Drew said if she sends another gift or reaches out inappropriately, he'll document it and take it to HR formally. So far, she hasn't. Maisie is doing great. She's almost 4 months old now and completely oblivious to all of this, which I'm grateful for. I'm still not bringing her around Drew's work events and I've made it clear that Vanessa is never to be around our daughter. Drew agrees. My mom has been incredible through all of this. She watched Maisie during our counseling sessions and never once said I told you so, even though she had every right to. My sister has also been supportive. She told me she's proud of me for standing my ground. I've also been working on my own feelings in therapy, individual therapy, not just couples. I realized I'd been so focused on Maisie and so exhausted from new motherhood that I hadn't been checking in with Drew about how he was adjusting. That doesn't excuse what he did, but it helped me understand how we got here. Drew's been in individual therapy too. He's working through why he needed external validation and why he didn't advocate for me when I raised concerns. His therapist thinks it's tied to some people-pleasing tendencies he's had since childhood. I don't know if Drew and I will fully get past this. Right now we're working on it week by week. Some days are good, some days I'm still angry, but we're trying, and that's more than I thought we'd be doing a month ago. Vanessa is out of our lives. She has no relationship with Maisie, she has no access to photos, and she has no personal connection to Drew anymore. That's all I wanted from the beginning. I wish Drew had listened to me the first time I raised concerns. I wish I hadn't had to go to my mom's for him to take me seriously, but we're here now, and we're dealing with it. For anyone going through something similar, pay attention when someone's behavior feels off. If your instincts are telling you something's wrong, don't let anyone convince you you're imagining it. And if your partner isn't backing you up, keep pushing until they hear you. Your boundaries matter, your comfort matters, your family's privacy matters. Drew knows now that if he ever dismisses me like that again, I won't just go to my mom's for a few days. I'll be done. He says he understands. We'll see if that holds up when it's tested.